So I'm Sarah, I'm the Canine Family Planner. Hopefully you are subscribed to my YouTube channel, my Instagram, my Facebook and any other amazing stuff that I do and put out there. But yeah, so I've got a poorly puppy here, so everyone freaks out about tube feeding, so I thought I'd put a together that I can save in like my libraries, and when people ask me in future I can just literally send them the link and they can fill their boots. But first off, so I've got a puppy here. He's 5 days old. He was born with complications anyway, the whole litter was. He's currently the only surviving puppy. He was doing okay up until yesterday. Basically the two surviving pups of 4 was hydrated, so I decided to tube feed even though mum had pretty good milk and has been a good mum before. Anyway, I tube fed and he benefited really well from that. He literally had like a milk high and was whizzing around his little incubator that I've got him on. The girl didn't do so well, so she passed on Sunday. He's been plodding along up until yesterday, and then he's just not been well. I was slowly trying to increase the amount he was having, but also what quality of milk he was having, so I'm going to go into that a bit further in a minute. But how I can tell he's not well is basically however I leave him in the incubator, he's not moving. So puppies should have active sleep, so when they're a healthy puppy they'll be twitching and all the shakes and all that kind of stuff, which is their nervous system developing. He literally, you put him back in the incubator and where I leave him is where he is when I come back to feed him again. He's currently on 8 feeds a day. Typically, if I was supplement feeding, I'd want to have him on 1 mil per 1 ounce body weight, which, I'm looking at my notes as well because I've got notes to make sure I cover everything, which is 28 grams. So he should be having about 6 ounces, 6 mil per feed. I've dropped it down to 4 because I just didn't want to overload his body, basically. We started off on 4 and he's doing quite well on it. I upped it to 5 and he sort of started going downhill, so I've dropped it back down to 4 again. When you've got a poorly puppy, there's no point, obviously tube feeding's great, but there's no point, if the puppy's poorly, then you got to sort of get to the bottom to it. So originally he was dehydrated, so by me tube feeding, then that basically made him hydrated. But there tends to be some milestones when it comes to litters. I think personally it's a 3-day milestone. So if they die within the first 3 days, generally I always just put that down to internal organs aren't working correctly. There's nothing you can do to fix that. They're too tiny, they're too diddy, so it is what it is. Then I say there's the 10-day milestone, which I don't think we're going to get to with him. And generally that's when because the first 3 days, really, milk for most bitches haven't really kicked in until the 3rd day. So they're just running on colostrum, fluids that's in their body. So although organs are working, they're not really tested to the max until milk kicks in, and then the body has to actually digest the food, process it for them to grow and do what they need to do. So the first 3 days, I just generally think that's like congenital problems, you just can't fix it. Then the next 10 days, up to 10 days old, that's when milk kicks in. Are they growing as they should? If they are, then great. For me, the next milestone is 3 weeks, which is generally when people start to wean pups, because then you're again changing their food source, and it's how can their body cope with that change? Are they going to be able to digest it? Does that cause any triggers for any other conditions? So for me, it's always been 3 days, 10 days, 3 weeks. But if a puppy is poorly, then there's only so much you can do to fix it. So you can keep them warm, you can keep them hydrated, you might be able to give some meds. Generally, the only meds you can give them is antibiotics. Antibiotics are generally for infection. Are they showing any signs of that? You could do it. Most vets tend not to want to do it because it's a broad spectrum treatment for something that you don't even know what it is. So he's not had any antibiotics, because though he was born with a slight issue anyway, so I think it's all tying round to me hitting the 10-day milestone, that internally stuff isn't going right and he's way too diddy to operate on. So anyway, when it comes to tube feeding, people get obsessed with, so that's, sorry, where I was going with the milk. So this is some milk that I've already made up. I prefer raw canning. This is actually I'm not even sponsored by them, but this is the ProTech. I have always used the baby dog milk. If it's an emergency and you can't get hold of any powdered milk, then I would use like a tin of carnation milk, watered down, diluted down, and it should do the job. Not long term, obviously, until you can order in some powdered milk. But personally, if you're breeding, I would just always have some milk in stock, and hopefully you never need it. If you don't need it, then that's fine, because you can literally use it to wean the pups onto. Sorry, hang on 1 second. Right. If a puppy, and I've just spilt a load of stuff because the lid went on properly. If a puppy is poorly, then whacking a load of food into them that they're not well enough to digest is just going to send them downhill quicker. So generally, most people would start off with hydration fluid. So this is pre-mixed up. It looks like wee in a jar. It's not. I like liquid Life Aid. I think it's pretty hard to get hold of nowadays. Basically, if you have some, never throw it away. All the time it's yellow, it's fine to use. Ignore the date. If it turns brown, then that's when you've got to bin it. I don't know, I dread to think what the date is in this, probably about 10 years old, something crazy, and it's still going strong. But Oral Aid, I think most people use nowadays. But basically, a person could survive on this for a set limited amount of time. So as long as they're drinking this, which basically has got all the essential electrolytes in it for the body to function, then they'll do fine. They're never going to gain any weight, they're never going to grow, but they are fully hydrated, so the system should carry on functioning with that. Now, ideally, basically, when you start tube feeding, it's probably mainly this and maybe some meds. Then you slowly introduce the milk. So 100% this, then 75% this, or 25% milk, then 50-50, then 75% milk, 25 this, and then 100% milk. That's the slow transition that you want to move across to. Okay, but it just all depends on how the pup's doing to how fast that can happen or how ill the pup is in the first place. Now, when it comes to methods of supplement feeding, I'm showing you tube feeding because that's the hardest. Obviously, you have alternatives. You have bottle feeding, which if the puppy's well enough, then a bottle feeding might be fine. But if generally, depending on the breed, they're more likely to aspirate. So they're more likely to take liquid onto the lungs, and then it causes you a whole nother load of problems that you're probably never going to come back from. So puppies are good generally, bottles are good generally for the longer nose breeds, but if a puppy's poorly, then ramming a bottle in its mouth, it's just not going to suckle. It hasn't got the energy to suckle. I know some people like to use syringes. I really like this one, which I've used in the past, which is a Miracle syringe, because it's got this T on the edge at the end, and that makes it more real life to them, obviously, being on mum. So that's an option. You can get those on eBay. So I literally, or Amazon, sorry. So I literally do just have those, in stock. Well, just have them. If you're breeding that often, just order them and hopefully you'll never use them. But if you've got them, then you haven't got to wait next day for them to arrive. You've got them. If you want to go really, really old school, then you could do... Oh, there was liquid in that. Oh, God, water in that. Then you've got a dropper. And literally you could dropper it onto their tongues, but that's probably going to take you forever. The new sort of way, which really is only good if the puppy's well, which are these sort of puppy feeders, silicone things where you sort of put the milk in the top and then they can suckle on it. All these methods are good if you've got a puppy that wants to feed. If you've got a puppy that doesn't want to feed, then obviously your only option is to tube feed. Another thing to bear in mind also is that you can ask questions as well, by the way, and I'll try and catch them as we go. So, yeah, if there's anything you're not sure about, you want me to clarify, then just let me know, because I will just rabbit on. That's one of my skills when it comes to this. But now I lost what I was talking about. But basically, yeah, if the puppy's well enough, then, you know, those methods are quite good. If it's not, then you have no option but to tube feed, basically. Yeah, so it is one of those. So I've got to the point where this puppy needs tube feed and I don't have much choice. So, and I should actually show you that. So you can buy these. This is a tiny, tiny diddy. So everything's sort of wet because it's all been sterilised or soaked in really hot water. This is a tiny, tiny tube. I think I either got this on Amazon or it might have been Canine Chemist. Now, the really good thing about this tube, oh God, if you can see, oh God, if I'm in it. Can you, that's it. Can you see this is numbered? Now, that's the important thing. So this is really good because years ago, you just had a tube and you used to have to get a little pen and mark how far you needed to go in. So basically, the numbers are going to tell us how far we need to put this tube in. I always just have a mug of hot water. That's normally in there, being kept clean. And then I've already made up my solution, which I then also put in the hot water because it warms this up. And we only want body temperature, so we don't want super, super hot. This, again, the mix I've done is 75 Life Aid to 25% milk. Sometimes if I get a puppy that won't settle and is like really agitated after feeding, I try and wind them. And if possible, maybe then give them Infocol, which I've not got any in here, or I've just tried using a slightly different one that you actually drop it in the milk. So this is, I've already put a drop in here to help the puppy digest the food. So either maybe the puppy formula is still too much, so just add an extra, I think it's called colic relief or something or other, but just helps them digest the milk even more if they're having problems with that. So, any questions? Let me think. I've talked you through why we should supplement feed. So why we should supplement feed. So I've got a poorly pup. It might be because you've got a big litter. It might be because they're an orphaned litter or mum's got really bad milk. You might not pick that up to the 3-day stage, the 10-day stage or the 3-week stage. I've talked you through all the different types that there are. Why do I prefer tube feeding? So generally I only tube feed. I don't bother bottle feeding. I'm yet to give this a go. So I've got it here in case I need it, but I've not actually tried it yet. I have generally, once I've had a puppy come back from tube feeding, so they've recovered well, then I move on to this. And the good thing with this is that you can actually put, if any of you wean onto the Royal Canin baby dog mousse or dog mousse or whatever it's called, this fits in here and they can still feed. So you can actually transition them from milk onto a better protein or food, I suppose, through one of these, which I have done with one of the pups in the past. So I quite like these. If I was to do anything, I'd go tube to this, to then actually wean them onto proper food. So yeah, it works quite well for me. Right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change... so why do I like tube feeding? So I like it because it's very precise, because you know exactly however much fluid you've put into that dog, that's exactly how much they've got. You're never going to know with bottle feeding because it all goes around their mouth and dribbles all down the side. You're never going to know if they're on the bitch exactly how much they've got. So I like it for its accuracy, if I could say the word. Why else do I like it? I like it because any other form of a puppy feeding that actually going to use energy trying to feed. So it's all well and good having a puppy suckle for half an hour, but if they're not actually getting any nutrition in, they're actually just expelling calories, so they're actually going to be worse off than before they started. So tube feeding is a really good way of getting calories into a dog without them having to use any of energy to be able to do that, which hopefully is then going to help them grow. All right, so I always recommend that you toilet them beforehand, so do wee and poo with like a damp cotton ball, which I've already done with him, and I'm just going to change cameras, and I'm hoping that this is going to be close enough up for you to see, so bear with me 1 second while I switch a load of stuff around. Oh, can I switch you around? Oh, I don't know how to switch my camera around. Can I not do that? Oh, somebody help me out if you know. Otherwise, I'm going to have to do this a really cat-handed way. I thought I could switch round. Right, we're going to have to go really cat-handed then. So I'm so hoping that this is going to work without me actually being able to see what we're doing now. But... sorry, my Google bleeding kicked in, didn't it? Right. Yeah, can you see? Hopefully you can see. Right. Let me get Puppy out. Right, yeah. Oh, God, I have to do this all a bit. Right, so I'm going to... This is hot water. I'm going to put my tube in. Hopefully you can see that. I'm actually going to put the milk in there as well. Like this puppy is this is a bit of a big issue. So he's had umbilical problems, and I think internally whether that's impacted his gut or something or other, I'm not sure. So yeah, as I say, he was quite lively. He was quite pink. He's just gone a duller pink now. Oh, double tap. Right, let me try. No, it's not doing it. No, I'll roll with it. I'm sure I've changed it around before, but okay. But hopefully you can see. If you can't, then please say. Actually, let's move it back a little bit. But yeah, so he's just gone a slightly duller pink. He was quite lively. Even when you put him down, he was jiggling around, but he didn't tend to do much really nowadays. It's always worth, with the milk, as you say, you only need it like above body temperature. So it is the age-old checking like you with a baby, which that's just taking the chill off. Now when you're tube feeding, there's about, we don't want to be putting air into his system. Actually, but first off, what we need to do. So we need to measure him, and you need to measure every puppy that you're going to tube feed, because they're all different lengths. And basically what you're measuring is from the last rib to the end of his nose, all right? Can you see? Yeah. So, and you want to lay him on something flat, because, see that? Just working out, just short of 11 he is on here, all right? So that's how far I've got to put this tube into the 11 marker. Now, everyone freaks out about, oh my God, I'm going to go into the lungs and I'm going to kill him and all this kind of stuff. Well, at the end of the day, like, you're only doing it to do your best. So if that did happen, you're only doing it with the best intent. However, the lungs are halfway down. So if I put this into his lungs, I'm probably only going to get to the 8 marker rather than the 11. So that's why the importance of knowing your markers is good. But as I say, every puppy is going to be different. So if you're tube feeding more than one puppy, you need to be checking every one of them, or they're having their own tubes or whatever. I don't know. You're going to have some system in place, basically. But so this milk is good. I'm only going to put 2 ml into him because he ain't doing great, and I just don't want to flood stuff. Now we need to get the air out. Oh, sorry, I've gone off camera. We need to get the air out. So I've just put the end just goes on really straightforward. We need to get the air out. So basically, syringe, obviously have it downwards, and I'm just going to squeeze. And you'll see, hopefully, if I carry on squeezing, it's going to go through the tube. Yeah, see it? Going round. That's it, stripping out the end. Yeah, so that's all good. So there's no air in that now. And literally, have him the puppy on a flat surface, because if if they're going to be sick, if you overfill them, it's going to come straight out. If you have them propped up like that, it's going to come out and then it's going to go back down, and then that's when it's probably going to go in the lungs. So always have them as flat as possible. And open the mouth up. Now, I know for a fact this is easier on some breeds rather than others. Lay it on the bottom and his tongue will come out, and they will literally swallow it down. All right. You can. See, he's trying to... That's it. Sometimes it's easier just to go in the corner of the mouth, but he swallowed that all the way down. I'm actually at the 13 marker, so I'm not actually going to go any further than that. All right. Then I tend just to hold the head and the tube to the side. He's having a little chew there, and obviously keep an eye on your marker. And it's a slow depression, really. Sorry, I'm trying to do it, see myself and show you. But basically, I'm plunging. That's 1 mil. That's 2 mil. That's 2.5. Done. And then when you take it out, just be fast with it. Literally out. Done. All right. See. Now just monitor him. Don't shove him back straight away. Just monitor him. I see. Obviously, I'm saying him because it's a him. He's all right. He's breathing all okay. Just going to wipe his mouth a little bit. All right. You just say he's not right. He's got these weird little... they look like burns, but they're not burns. But yeah, he's been through it. Bless him. Yeah. So he's had a little bit of a poo as we've done that, because I say he's got quite an extended belly, which I think is all part of the problem. But he's got fluids. He is weeing and he is pooing. But I just don't know if there's something else going on inside, but you can see he's very much alive. Doing well, she says. That didn't kill him doing that tube feed, basically. So, okay, but he is poorly. He didn't move around much, to be honest. I mean, this is the most animated he's been. It's probably because he's got a little bit cold now. So I'm just going to put him back in, and then I'll show you quickly. I'm doing everything back to front. How is this not turning around? Yeah, I just stuck him back in there, basically. So that was doing a tube feed. It is pretty... sorry, I'm just going to get this tripod back up again. It's one of those... you never really want to practice it until you need to. And then when you need to know how to do it. So it's one of those catch-22 kind of situations. But I think I've really covered the most important stuff. What breed is he? He's an English Bulldog. So, yeah, he's a little English Bulldog that's... he's not... I'm all for weighing daily puppies, whether they're poorly, not poorly, and all the rest of it, just to track their progress. But he's tiny. He was only born at 283 grams, which was just over 8 ounces. And he's down to, well, he had gained some. His lowest he'd been 6 ounces, so he lost 2 ounces, but he just doesn't seem to be doing much. So I just don't think it's going to be a good outcome, unfortunately, for him. But I have had pups where, the tube feeding has brought them back from the worst case scenario. But it is one of those. Just have the equipment in and hopefully you'll never need it. I made it look easy. That's because I've done it thousands of times, unfortunately. But yeah, even with Alive and tripods. But it's one of those, you never really want to have to do it, but you need to know how to do it. So just order the stuff in, always have milk in. Hopefully you're never going to need it. You can always use it. It's not wasted, because then if you wean the pups, you can mix in the milk anyway. Yeah, mum's all okay. So yeah, it's an elective C-section. She's fine. It's a long story, but it's about basically some meds that she was on has impacted the pups and the litter. Even though I specifically checked twice that she should be taken off of them. So I'm a bit pissed at one of my vets. But it is what it is. You learn. You never stop learning. But yeah, mum's fine, and she's a really good mum, to be honest. And she was happy to feed them. And initially they latched on fine, no problem. But they just didn't have the strength to pull the milk down properly, which caused them to get dehydrated, which then made me make the decision of I need to chew feed them. But as I say, the important thing is have the equipment in, have the milk in. If you can get hold of liquid Life Aid, I would highly recommend that you buy it and leave it in your fridge and it just be there for eternity unless you need it. Just bear in mind, don't overload the puppies with too much milk. Like a really diluted down milk just to get them up and running is fine. Equally, don't put too much milk in. Little and often is better. So it'd be better for me just to give him 2 mil 8 times a day than it would be to do like 4 meals, like 4 times a day basically. But that's about it. So if you've got any questions, then obviously you can... I'll post this up anyway, however you do it on Instagram. But you can ask some questions afterwards if you have got any. I probably missed a load if there was any, I'm sorry. But yeah, that's it. So I'm signing off. So any other questions, any other videos you want me to do, then let me know. But I felt this was quite a good one to do because it's like puppies don't need chew feeding all the time, thankfully. So I just had that situation here that I thought it was worth sharing with. But it is all about measuring, doing it on the flat, no air bubbles, and try your best. And as long as you measure to the last rib, you're not going to go into lungs, you're not going to get it wrong. So touch woods today. I've got to touch wood. I've tube fed way too many puppies that I would have liked to have, and I've never hit lungs and put milk into lungs ever. I've gone into what I thought, and you can feel it as you're pushing it in, they should swallow it down. So if they swallow it down, you know right, it's going down the esophagus, it's going down to the stomach. If there's a bit of tension, yeah, it's because you're going down the wrong way. And so literally just rest it on their tongue, feed it down. Sometimes it's easier just to do it down the corner of the mouth. Measure it, last rib, you're in the right place. You're not going to get it wrong. So that's it. I'm signing off. As I say, any other questions, let me know afterwards. Bye.